Fun. We're live? All right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday to you. Welcome to the Sparrow Quilt Company Stash Busters series. My name is Bradie, and I'm really, really excited to be here today because we are finally at the point when we are going to start putting this awesome, almost houndstooth quilt together. Have you gotten your free pattern yet by visiting sparrowquiltco.com? You're going to click on my face. It's going to take you to a new page where you can enter your email address, and we will reply to you with an email with the pattern attached. Hopefully you've been following along. As you may or may not know, we stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with our Stash Busters series in an effort to help you use up this stash or just get you inspired, get you sewing and creating. If you just want to hang out and watch, that's totally fine too. We're just having a lot of fun doing what we love. So today is a pretty special day, I have to tell you. Today, 23 years ago, is the day that I became a mummy for the very first time. So, Miss Landon, can you come on over here and join me for just a second? My little producer, oldest daughter, Landon. Hi. Happy birthday, honey. It's 23 years old today. So, to celebrate that, we have got an awesome coupon code, which is going to get you some very fun products on sale today. What did we decide on? 20% off or 25? 20?
Let's do 20.
20. So 20% off on either the Oliso iron, thank you for joining me, honey, or the 3-piece roundabout set. If you are not familiar with this, it's a really cool pressing and cutting system that is very portable and nicely sized so that you can take it wherever you like. We've got the pressing pad, we've got the cutting mat, and all on a turntable surface. So these are great for taking on retreats, going camping, any of that sort of thing, even just sitting beside you at your sewing station so you don't have to be up and down like an elevator back and forth to your ironing station or your cutting station. So if you are interested in any of those, you can use the coupon code BIRTHDAY at sparrowquiltco.com, and that will apply to those two products that I've mentioned, and that's only going to be until an hour after today's show. So that'll be good until 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time today, February 9th. All right, so hopefully you get a chance to take advantage of that. We're going to start today by squaring up our blocks. If this is the first time you're seeing it, this is our almost houndstooth block, and it is just one of these blocks out of the quilt over here. My great, wonderful friend Darcy took the time over the past 2 days and pieced all these blocks together for me. That's 60 of these little houndstooth blocks, so I'm very grateful to Darcy for helping me be prepared for the video this morning. But what we need to do before we sew all our blocks together is get them so that they're all the right size. Now, our goal with these blocks is to be 8.5 inches, and I had a quick look through and they are pretty bang on, but we do have a couple of instances where maybe there's just a tiny wee bit hanging off, and hopefully, can they see what I'm indicating there, Landon, that it's just a bit bigger? That's the kind of thing I am looking to square up or even off just to make my sewing more accurate. So today I am using my 10-inch blue squaring ruler, and I've got the slip stop on the back so that it stays in place for me. And I like to put my lowest numbers up in the top right corner. And that allows me to see down here in the bottom left corner the size of the block that I'm after. So down here is where I'm going to be lining up my 8.5-inch markings. And up here I'm at the 0. So I am just lining that up. And this block is actually just a tiny bit small. So what I'm going to do is just kind of trim up that side so that at least it's flat. And my biggest goal is always to make sure that I've got at least that 1/4 inch outside of my points. I don't like it when my points are cut off. I mean, sometimes we can avoid it, but I do my best to try and keep it accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that, make it nice and straight. And there's nothing to come off the top side. The other three sides look pretty good, so I'm just going to set that one aside for now and move on. This one size-wise, we're pretty good again, so I'm just going to trim the edge to make sure that it's straight. Darcy did a good job of piecing these blocks. I don't have to take off much at all. So where's everybody watching from today? Always fun to see where everybody is. Pardon me, Landon. Nice. Welcome. Ooh, New Brunswick. And are any of you working on the Houndstooth quilt? Piecing it along with me? It's a surprisingly easy one. It does go very, very quick, so that is a good thing. This one is beautiful. I want to do these upside down. Which one, the leaves? I do too. I was hoping there would be enough contrast in that one with the white background, but I think the green print is strong enough that it can pull it off. Camera doesn't help. Oh, just take my word for it, okay, guys? So this one is a little bit needing a trim. She made these bang on. They really don't even need much squaring. Maybe she squared them, Landon says. For those of you that have been following along, I hope if you have any questions that you will leave them here in the comments so that I can help you with any issues you may be having. There was nothing to take off on that one. Nice job, Darcy. I don't think you're watching. You're not a Facebook girl, but... Ooh, yummy. Now I just look crazy. So Landon just told me that Chris says she's making bread today, and I think that sounds delicious. I'm so fortunate with my husband, Matt. His mom raised him making fresh bread every week in their home, so he can whip up like 30 loaves of bread in an afternoon, and it is one of the best bread recipes I've ever enjoyed. And to be honest, I tend to enjoy it a little too much and find myself like bloated and full and sick from bread overdose, but just something about fresh homemade bread that is just irresistible. Sorry? We will be selling the Sparrow 30 eventually. I don't currently have any in stock. The last time I went to order, they were out of stock. So I keep checking in fairly regularly. I love the rose gold color of that machine, and I need one. But we don't have them yet. So once we get them in, we'll definitely be doing a video to showcase all its features and its beautiful color. I did get the extension table, though, for the Sparrows. These fit the Sparrow 20 and the Sparrow 25, and I'm really excited to have it because it is a nice big table, nice big surface. Next week, I'm going to do some free motion videos to show you guys how well it works once you have the extension table, even with your smaller domestic machines. Today, to trim, I am using the 10-inch True Blue. Just wasn't coming to me, guys. So this is the 10-inch True Blue Glow Edge squaring rulers. We have these as small as 4 inches, and I think on the website you can get them up to 12. If you live locally, you can come in and get them up to 24, but we just can't ship those big guys. It is really, really awkward, expensive, and hard to find a box for. And I'm also using my ergonomic rotary cutter, which I love, love, love. I used to get a lot of chronic pain in my index finger knuckle, and I realized that it was from just excessive pressure with my rotary cutter. So now when I use this ergo cutter, it totally eliminated that pain in my finger, which is kind of nice because nobody likes being in pain, let's be honest here. The extension table, yes, this is It can be ordered in for other, it can be ordered specific to your particular machine. We'll have to look up the link and see if we can share that with you a little bit later. It is kind of a special order item. Now this one here is just a little over 8.5 inches. And I don't want to take off this side because I barely have a 1/4 inch there. So I'm going to turn this baby around and I'm going to line up my left side and my bottom edge, and I'm going to take my trimmings off of this side because it actually looks to me like I have a bit more than a 1/4 inch on this side. So that's where I'm going to do my trimming this time. I'm only taking off a hair, but I would rather sacrifice it over here than over there, because here you won't really notice if this point is sacrificed a wee bit, but this one I'll notice that. So I am going to take it off this side instead. Now you guys, I am going to be giving away one of these 10-inch rulers paired with a rotary cutter today. So one person is going to win 2 prizes. So you'll be set for all your squaring and cutting needs. And how do you enter to win that draw? You're going to share this video. So underneath the video, you're going to see the options to like, comment, and share. I want you to click that share button, and that's going to share this video with all your buds on Facebook. And then everybody can come and join in on the fun. All right, so I'm just losing a hair here on this side. That iron is on sale today. What are the chances? So today only, until an hour after this video, you can purchase the only.No iron for 20% off, and you're going to use coupon code BIRTHDAY. And we're also applying that birthday offer to the 3-piece roundabout set as well. So if you're interested in either of those items, now is the time. That is a great price at 20% off. No. Absolutely. They work beautifully together. Sorry, guys. I just need my little cup back where I can keep all my mess contained. A lot of comments today? Oh, my goodness. You guys are chatty today, Landon says. Yeah, just share those comments with me as they come up if you like, or as you can. So this one, I can see how the bottom row is just a little bit shifted to the left. And of course, that forces the top row to be just a little bit to the right. Still measures just 8.5 though. So I'm going to fudge this one as I sew it rather than trim anything and force it to be too small. Landon's doing a little adjustment here so you can see a bit better. Now I really do feel that it's worth the time to go through and square your blocks, or at least check that they're all as close as possible. If it's like 1/8 of an inch, you've seen me take off just a shred. If it's like 1/8 of an inch or less, I may just leave it and kind of fudge it in the sewing, but I really do want to try and get them as close to the same size as possible. We're just going to end up with better results. I have fudged to the point where you end up with like excess fabric in the blocks in my early sewing days before I learned that you really should trim everything up. And that just makes it more at risk for pleats, tucks, and wrinkles when you go to do the quilting. And I don't know what it is about pleats, tucks, and wrinkles. I've never met a quilter that likes those things in their quilts. So we'll just do our best to keep them out of there. By squaring everything up and making sure that we are accurate. Oh my word. Yeah, you absolutely could put tape on your ruler. When I am using a really big ruler, whatever size my block is, I usually try to use a ruler that is closest in size to that block. So these blocks are 8.5, so I'm using a 10-inch squaring ruler. I can't use an 8-inch ruler on an 8.5-inch block because it's just not big enough. So if you are struggling with finding your lines that you want to use as your lining up point. You could absolutely put some painter's tape or masking tape around that outer edge to make it quick and easy for you to be able to identify, there's my 8.5-inch line, and you could just quickly line it up and make your cuts. So I'll trim this off just a little bit. Yesterday I was trimming blocks, just like you see me doing today, and I would trim the right side, and then I would kind of strain to do the top edge. And Matt comes around and he says, why don't you just turn it? And I was like, what a great idea, darling. Now get out of here. Yes, he's a smart one, that Maddie of mine. All right. So that is a row's worth, and we are going to put those all together. Now, there's not a lot of matching up of seams in this one. It will just be that center seam of each one. And what's going to happen here is that they're all pressed up towards the print. So I'm probably going to push the second block so that the seam allowance is facing down. So here's what I'll show you. Right now it's pushed up towards my large print, and I'm going to probably take that and flip it the opposite direction so that it nests nicely with this seam on the block to its left. It's even possible that you could leave this center seam unpressed until this point, and then as you go, you could push one up, the second one down, the third one up, the fourth one down, and just alternate the position. It would just add an extra thing to press. Once you got your entire row together, you would want to press those center seams in their appropriate direction, as well as the seams that join the blocks together. But it's just going to give us better results, and I really do recommend pressing as you go. I've been working on these little tiny blocks at home, and there's a lot of piecing in them. And I did a lot of my pressing by finger pressing as I went, and they are just not as like flat and crisp as I like to see them. So in hindsight, I wish that I had taken the time to press them as I went. Maybe I will set up one of these little 3-piece roundabout sets at home and not have to get up and out of my chair all the time. Because, you know, once you get sewing, you just want to sit there and sew, right? You don't want to be back and forth and up and down. But I do really recommend pressing as you go. You're going to get better results.
This is a good time to remind you all about the twirl and all of your seams.
Yes, Kathy, thank you. I tried it the other night. I was sitting there and I thought I might be lacking in intelligence slightly because I just could not get it right. And then all of a sudden it just went into place. So thank you, Kathy, for showing me that the other day. I did finally figure it out. It had me questioning my own sanity for a bit there, though. Ooh, inches. See, here in Canada, we are a metric country, but we quilt in inches. We quilt in imperial. I don't know why. We measure ourselves in pounds. We measure our height in feet and inches. So I don't know why we claim. We do, yeah, that's metric. Lionel's saying we drive in kilometers. But we're kind of half-assed metric. At least quilters are. I'm pretty sure the people that do like construction and woodworking, they're probably very metric. But I don't know if it's just because of the availability of tools. Do they make tools in millimeters and centimeters? It would mess with my head. But then we sell our fabric in meters. I don't know. I can't figure it out. It doesn't make any sense to me. So you just have to know that a yard is 36 inches and that a meter is 39 inches. So here in Canada, when we buy a meter of fabric, we're actually getting 3 extra inches of fabric. And our fat quarters are bigger. So our fat eighth is also bigger. It ends up being 10 by 22, and our fat quarters end up being about 20 by 22. At least that's how we cut them here. A meter's 39, but I don't want to fuss with trying to cut you 19 and a half, so I just go to the generous side and cut those fat quarters at 20 inches. And then they are generous. Okay, yeah, and that's in inches, right? I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I need to adjust the height of my table, as you can clearly see. I've got my Elite table workstation. This is just the best table ever. I hope you can see that I am lowering the height of my entire table here. So that's probably going to mess with the cameras and stuff, and Lannon's just going to do some adjustments. This is such a versatile cutting surface workstation. I just love it. I've got mine level today, but I could actually take it so that it was, higher on the right side or higher on the left side. But right now I'm going to be sewing, so I'm going to just lower it down so that it's a better height for me. Oh, Sheila, I like your top. And morning. Sheila's upstairs teaching free motion class today. Okay, that is a nice height, so I'm going to settle there. Today I am working on my Eversewn Sparrow 20. I love this little machine. It really is a good sturdy little machine, and it's a nice weight. I can kind of wing it around. Well, I don't ever like spin it around. Exercise time with the Sparrow machine. No, it's nice and light so we can move it around easily. I never have to worry about being able to move it. Not like my machine at home that is like heavy. It's heavier than the long arm. It's heavier than my smallest long arm, which is shocking to me. All right, everybody. We are now going to join these blocks together. I have got my 1/4 inch foot on my machine, and so I am just going to be lining up the edge of my sewing with that 1/4 inch foot. If I had thought ahead, I could have brought over my seam gauge and my ideal seam guide, and I would have placed those on my sewing machine bed. That's another great way to get an accurate seam allowance. But I've told you before that I am not afraid to sew over pins, but I'll just take my time as I proceed. And I totally forgot to explain to you how I was using my fork pin there, so we'll make sure that we cover that on the next one here. I'm just going to continue to sew these together in pairs as I grab 3. So these, I'm going to flip them so they're right sides facing. And again, I've got 2 seams that are both going the same direction. So maybe what I'll do now is move this baby out the way and bring over my pressing surface, my handy dandy pressing surface. And I'm going to take this block and I'm going to push that seam down the opposite direction so that my seam allowances can nest into each other nicely. And then I get more accurate, precise piecing. I'm just going to hold that for a second because it was already pressed up, so it's a little bit reluctant to get talked into what I want it to do. There we go. But once you kind of get it going in the right direction, then you just pin it where you want it and it's fine. All right. So here, what I'm trying to show you, can they see this, Elle? Kind of. So I'm showing you here that this block, the seam allowance is pointing to the right, the bottom block, the seam allowance is pointing to the left. And I want to make sure that those 2 seams are touching each other. And if I peel this back just a little bit, you can see how that fold presses right up against that second fold. And I'm just going to hold them in place really nicely while I grab my fork pin. And we've talked about these Clover fork pins a zillion times, but just in case you've not been here before, this is a fork pin, and it is a product made by Clover. I always use Clover pins. They're kind of my favorite. I'll admit I'm a pin snob. They just They're just so nicely made, and they're sturdy, and they are thin, so they, they go in really nice and easy. I'm just going to poke that into the fabric and back up, and you can see how those two really fine, sharp points just get right in there. They just poke right into that fabric like it's butter, and they bring those seams together so nicely, and it just gives me really, really precise piecing. My points are very rarely cut off because this allows me to line things up really well. All right. So hopefully you've been following along, but if you're just joining us, this is the Stash Busters series, and today we are starting to assemble this big, almost houndstooth quilt. It is a free pattern that you can get at sparrowquiltco.com, and if you are just joining us, you can find all the prior videos that we have done on the website. You can find them all on the website at sparrowquiltco.com. There is a Stash Busters link, and you can just go there and see all the prior videos that we've done and patterns, and join us in the fun. We love seeing your photos of the quilts that you've created. So please, please, please email them to us or send them to us in the Facebook inbox. And if you missed it earlier, we also have a birthday. Miss Landon is turning 23 today, so we've got a coupon code for you that you can use on either the iron or the 3-piece roundabout set that will save you 20% on either of those items. Wow, they're getting a little bit wild and crazy here, guys. So Matt's just told me that they're putting the table on sale. What is the title of this table so that they can find it on the website? Look up Workstation when you get to sparrowquiltco.com. You're going to search the word Workstation. You're going to be able to save, is that 20%? 20% on one of these great tables. There is 3 different sizes of tabletop, and so you can pick the one that is best for you. Morning. And it comes with the cutting mat. It comes with a rotary cutter. It comes with a bunch of other great stuff, which I cannot remember at the moment, but go ahead and read the description there. It'll tell you everything that's included. Anyways, that is amazing savings on this table, and you can get it, like it comes with the electric lift, which is, as I already showed you, pretty awesome. Oh, yes. This is a T ruler, I believe.
And a husband.
T-square. I wouldn't have Landon if it weren't for that handsome guy. What? Did I mention we have 10 children? Just in case you've never met us before. So yeah, there's this ruler, and it, if I didn't have all this stuff on the table, it's got casters. Landon says, yes, we can roll it around. And I don't know why this is my favorite part about this table, but it can hold up to 350 pounds. And I've just got this goal to like load up a bunch of my kids on this table and lift it up and down and film a video of that. Like, who needs that feature to be able to lift and raise, or lift and lower 350 pounds? But this is a cool ruler that I will show you at some other time, because I've just got too much stuff on here right now to do anything with it. But that is a great price on all of those items.
On the table video, it shows that you can turn your sewing machine at an angle while you're driving.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yep. I think I've done a video where I was sewing on the angle, and it really does make a difference. I was so doubtful at first, like I really, really was doubtful, but it's very ergonomically correct, and you don't have to lean over so much. You're sitting up straighter, so it's got its advantages for sure. Is she done talking yet? Probably not. She's so distracted. Fruit fly. Okay, so my next 2 blocks are ready to be joined together. Oh, the coupon code to take advantage of the workstation, the 3-piece roundabout, or the iron is birthday. Coupon code birthday, and you will just put that in during your purchase. And your shopping cart should automatically adjust in price. I believe it is specific to the products, so if any of those products are in your cart, the discount will be applied to those items. All right. So those two, put this one on top of that one with the right sides facing each other, of course. I had to do some ripping apart last night because I matched my fabrics up incorrectly, but that happens to everybody. That's usually my indicator that it's time to stop sewing and go to bed. So there, once again, I'm showing you how these fork pins work, and hopefully you can see this. I just like to peel it back and make sure that those two seams are actually touching, and I can see that I'm level across the top there, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that pin in and out. And then I'll take that over to my machine and stitch her up. Once I got the next two together, I can go ahead and join the entire row. Now, my friends, did you share this video? Do you want to be entered to win the prize? If you're just joining us, you didn't see me trimming blocks, but I'll do that again in a moment here. I was using my 10-inch True Blue Glow Edge squaring ruler. Boy, I remembered the whole title that time. And I was using my ergonomic cutter, so our prize today, one person is going to win the ruler and the cutter. So go ahead and share this video to be entered for that prize. Someone asked a question the other day, if they share one video, does that enter them for future contests? No, you need to share each time, each day, to be entered for that day's prize. So this block needs to be pushed in the other direction, my center seam. Now, hopefully you were able to watch the videos that I made yesterday that were specific to the 3-piece roundabout and specific to my Oliso iron. Just really great tools. I really, really believe that when you're doing something that you love and you're doing something that you enjoy, that you should have the best quality tools you can afford. And it's just going to make you enjoy the process so much better if you've got tools that make the job easier. And I think that's how I talked my way into our first long arm. I'm going to enjoy quilting so much more if I have a long arm. And it's a good thing we got one because it really made us committed to quilting as a business. And then we were able to grow our business from just a front room of our house long arm quilting service to a full service quilt shop and online videos and all kinds of fun stuff and meeting quilters all over the world. I'm just still amazed at how people watch from all over the place. What really surprised me yesterday, I was standing up front and the UPS driver came in and he's like, "Hey, I've seen your videos." And I was like, "Really?" And he said, "Yes, my sister runs a small quilting business in India, and the first time I came here, I told her about you guys, and now she's discovered the videos and she watches along from India." I just think that is just the coolest. And I think it's crazy that a UPS driver just looked us up. You don't hear that story every day. How are we doing for questions there, miss? How do you spell the name of the iron is the question. So it's O-L-I-S-O, Oliso. And there's two different irons there. There is the Oliso Pro, which is yellow in color, and there is also the Oliso. I can't remember what its number is, but it's a blue one. It's a little bit smaller, doesn't hold as much water. I can't quite remember what the differences are between them, but I know that there are two options available there on the website, so you can check those both out. Always careful to make sure these fork pins go back into their little container because I have stepped on one. It's worse than Lego, like 8 million times worse than Lego. So earlier I was ranting at you about pressing and how important I think that is to do at every single step. I'm not going to press in between these blocks until I have all my rows created, and then I can put the top row facing one direction, the next row facing the other direction, and I'll just alternate them as I go, and then I don't have to do this step that I'm showing you where I'm changing the seam allowance, because I always want them to alternate whenever possible. So those are 7 and 8. There's 5 and 6. And we're going to keep 1, 2, 3, and 4. And pin these two sets of twins together. Ooh, there we go. There's always threads, isn't there? And I like to pull them as soon as I see them, but they tend to come up out of the woodwork. So now, because I took the time to alternate that every other seam going down the other direction, when I go to join these, one is pushed up, the other's pushed down, and they just nest together really perfectly. And I can pin them with my fork pins. Get that in and back out. Soft. I don't think it comes with a cover. Oh, so like a soft, kind of see-through, translucent type plastic. Translucent dust cover. It's not one of those hard type covers. Okay, so here again, I'm going to line up those two seam allowances at the center point. Those look really good. The suggestion is no, to use like distilled or a better quality water. The reason is that there is a lot of chemicals, and maybe if you've got hard water in your area, there's probably a softener in the water. Who knows what is in the tap water? Yes, exactly. And those deposits will accumulate inside your iron and also on the surface of your iron, and then that can lead to like crusty stuff getting onto your... Yeah, exactly. And it says like the inside of a kettle, and it's exactly like that. You just get these like, I've heard it called calcium deposits, but I'm sure there's an assortment of things that just build up and get in there. So, long story short, use distilled water in your irons. It'll keep it clean longer. And I know you can clean your irons too, maybe with vinegar, or don't quote me on that. But there are ways to kind of deal with those deposits. I wonder if something like CLR would be good, or I don't know. Just use distilled water, guys. Especially if you've got an expensive iron. You want to take the best care of it that you can. Well, all of the irons I have the option to steam. I typically don't use steam unless something is really misbehaving, really deep wrinkles or that sort of thing. Just a sec here. I personally stay away from starch, and I personally stay away from steam just because it shrinks the fabrics. I don't pre-wash anything, so then when it's exposed to steam or starch, that dampness wets the fabric, and then the heat shrinks the fabric. So I stay away from steam and I stay away from starch unless I absolutely need it to help me tame something into submission. Force it to behave, But I have found if I've pre-washed my fabrics, which has only ever happened once, I had to use a ton of steam and starch to make those fabrics behave. When fabrics are brand new, they have sizing in them, which forces them to be crisp and stiff, a little bit stiffer, and it forces them to behave. And once you wash them, that sizing is gone, and they just become like limp and spineless, and you have to starch them back to their stiffness. Coming up to my pin, so I better slow down.
Very dark color. What do you recommend to use to mark dark?
So you can get the question is, if I'm using dark fabric, what sort of marking pen should I use? You can get marking pens in all kinds of colors. There is a chalk cartridge set that's available on the website at sparrowquiltco.com, and it is a holder, and it comes with all these little leads, and they're all different colors. There's pink and yellow and blue and green and white. There's a few whites in there, and it also usually comes with a sharpener so that you can really sharpen the point of your chalk, and you'll be able to mark on any color of fabric with that particular set. But marking pens come in all different colors. Clover makes a white one, they make a blue one. There's another brand out there that does a purple and a blue. And you also want to be careful about the way they come off. If you're going to be if you need it to come out, then you probably want to remove it before you press it, because sometimes pressing things sets the color in, and you don't want to do that. I will often use the air erasable ones because they just disappear in about 24 hours. But that also depends on your climate. We've got a lady that lives out on the West Coast, out on an island, and it is so humid in her area that her air erase pens disappear in about 4 to 6 hours. So you want to just choose based on maybe where you're using it and what the application is. If you've got any more questions, please leave them there in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. All right, so now I've got 2 sets of 4 blocks, and I am ready to join these together. I should have used a contrasting thread. I'll remember for next time. I want to show you guys how I try to aim my intersections to make sure that I get my points not cut off. Maybe I'll try to show it here. Can you see this okay there, Elle? Yeah. What I'm trying to show is the threads here. Boy, that looks crooked. So you can see from my prior sewing that I've got this line that comes down on an angle. And then when I joined my 2 blocks together, that seam here that's, up and down, we'll call that, goes right through that intersection. And as long as I'm able to get it right at that intersection, I'm not going to lose my point. If I sewed over the intersection, it would cut off my point. If I sewed too far to the left of that intersection, my point would be kind of floating, and then I would end up with kind of a gap between this little leg and the next houndstooth. And again, this is one of those things that isn't make or break a quilt. It's not life-threatening, but it's going to make just that little bit of difference and help you improve your sewing in little ways that gives you more precision. I hope you were able to see that. That one might be better done on white fabric with black thread so that you can really see those intersections clearly. All right, everybody. This is my final seam for this row, and then we'll go back to squaring blocks for a little bit. And if you are just joining us, then you can see how I'm using my tools again. Ooh. So Lannon's just telling me that Maxine and Debbie use what's called a friction pen. and those are pretty cool. They come off with any sort of friction, so you could write with them on paper and you could erase it, but it's like a ballpoint pen, and that is really pretty. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So even ironing will take those pen marks out because iron is friction. The only one comment that I've heard about friction pens in the past is if you take your quilts out in like -40, the marks are going to come back. Don't take your quilts out in -40. And keep them out of the freezer. But yeah, they're pretty cool, and they come in all different colors. They actually were first innovated as a stationary item, and they have found their way into the sewing industry as well. But they are pretty cool. And I honestly think if your markings come back a little bit, like, does that matter? I don't know. Won't be the end of the world, that's for sure. All right, so that is my final seam on this row. So I'm going to go ahead and hang that on the quilt behind me so you can see it. The line of fabric that I'm using for this houndstooth quilt, almost houndstooth quilt, is called Curiosities, and it is a line for Riley Blake designed by Amanda Herring. She does a lot of really cute stuff. Give me a moment while I hang this up so you can see how cute it is. I could use it like a banner for somebody's birthday party. Speaking of birthdays, today is Landon's birthday, my little oldest daughter producer. She's the girl that made me a mummy 23 years ago, so happy birthday to Landon. She's actually stepped away to the bathroom, and I'm just like acting like she's still here. So because it's Landon's birthday, we are offering a few items on sale on the website. You can use coupon code BIRTHDAY, and that will get you 20% off the Oliso iron, 20% off the 3-piece roundabout table, and 20% off these great workstation tables. So be sure to check those out and take advantage of that sale. That is good pricing. Okay, so I'm just going to switch a few things around here again. We'll get our ironing surface off to the side. And I've got my turntable base here. The roundabout is actually a 3-piece system. I've just removed the pressing pad. Now I'm going to bring back my cutting mat. And that's got a non-slip surface on the back. So when I put it on here, it doesn't slide around. It stays exactly where I want it. And the roundabout base has got 24 stainless steel ball bearings in it. So it turns so smooth. It's so great. We could just stand here and play with that all day, but we've got work to do, so let's get at it. I've got my row 2 over here ready to be put together. And I'm going to raise my table back up again because you can probably see me hunching over. My back is already starting to go. Sorry if we need to adjust cameras and stuff again. All right, good. So now, as you can see, my workstation table is adjustable in height. I can raise it up, I can raise it down, I can tip it so that the right side is taller, I can tip it so that the right side or the left side is taller. It's a very versatile table. I am aiming for 8.5-inch blocks here. And as I mentioned earlier, my wonderful assistant, Darcy, pieced these all up for me. She came and got them after the show on Wednesday and brought them back this morning first thing. And she has done a fabulous job making sure these are all 8.5 inches. I need one to be oversized so I can show you guys how to trim up a block. But her sewing is just too good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, finally, we got one that's a little bit big. So I'm just going to line up the left and the bottom side of the block with the square that's already here on my roundabout cutting surface. And then whatever goes past the 8.5 inch mark, that's what I need to trim off. I'm going to use my 10-inch True Blue Glow Edge squaring ruler. Oh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Who named these things? And I am going to line up the 8.5 inch marks with the left and bottom sides. And if you wanted to get really fussy, you could even look for the 4.25 inch marking and make sure that it is crosshaired in the center of your block. If I am working on something that really, really has to be just right, I'll do that type of thing. But that is almost just a step too far for my compulsiveness. That's how I know it's not obsessive, because I can shut it off. I'm going to live if this isn't exactly right. Okay, so now I'm just going to trim up the right-hand side here. And it's just a hair that I'm cutting off there. It is really well pieced. And if I needed to cut along the top there, I just rotate my mat. And then you could rotate it again and continue squaring up that block. I really do feel that it is a worthwhile step to square up your blocks. Just like you put in your best effort of cutting all your fabrics out, your best effort at piecing them all, take the time and square them all up. It's just worth it. My workstation is the middle table. There is one that's bigger and there's one that's smaller. This one, because it's on casters, you know, you could roll it around the house and, I don't know, throw 350 pounds worth of kids on there and wheel them around. And this one will still fit out a doorway. So that's really nice if you are wanting to join your family in the front room rather than sewing in your standard doorway. I have to be specific. If you want to join your family in another room, you could move your entire station because it's on casters. So that's pretty cool. You just want to make sure that you are near an electrical outlet so that you can plug in your electric lift and be able to raise and lower your table as needed, as and if needed. All right. So beautifully pieced.
Center is exactly where I measure from. I was hoping that you would mention that.
It is actually a really important detail because Kathy has just pointed out how I mentioned the 4.25 measuring out. We want to make sure that our block is balanced. I could make this 8.5 inches, but if this wasn't at 4.25, my block would be off center. So I need to make sure that it is 4.25 on this side and 4.25 on that side. All right, this one's just a touch small, so I'm not going to take anything off of that. Now, I don't ever put my pressing surface back on top of my cutting surface simply because the warmth can transfer through and warp this cutting mat, so I just set it aside to preserve its little safety and bring back my pressing surface. And these little scorch guard legs on the Oliso iron, I just think are the best thing ever. You can just set it right down and it raises itself up off the surface. So like you could literally set it down on top of your favorite piece of fabric and it would just lift up and it wouldn't scorch anything below it, which is kind of handy, I gotta say. And if you forget to turn it off, it's got a 30-minute auto shut off, which is also very good. Although I don't like it when I leave it sitting for too long and go to use it and it's already shut off. Then it irritates me. Then it's a stupid feature. Okay, so I'm in the same situation here again. Every second block the seam in the middle is going to need to be pressed down the other direction so that I can nest my seams at the sides there and join them really nicely. So I'm just carefully pressing this seam in the opposite direction. And I'm just going to hold it for a moment because it's resistant. It's already been pressed in the other direction. So now I got to talk it sweetly into going the other direction. Actually, it's not sweet at all. I'm burning it like it's the depths of hell. All right. I'm just going to line up those edges nice and straight. Make sure that one seam allowance is pressed to the left, the other is pressed to the right. And I'm going to insert a little pin in there. I'm going to go ahead and pin these all at once so that I don't have to keep getting up and down, up and down. Now, have you all had a chance to share this video? That's going to get you entered for the prize that we're giving away today, which is the pair of the squaring ruler and the ergonomic rotary cutter. So I got one person that's going to win those two tools today. And all you have to do to enter is share this video. Have any of you been making this quilt? I got an email the other day that someone said they were almost done and they were looking for the next step. And so here we are today with that next step of joining the rows together, but I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody's quilts. That's first, that's second. Let's do this. All my newest ones I'm going to put at the bottom of the pile so that I can keep this row in order. Not that it matters, it's pretty scattered. I'm not doing any sort of specific layout. I'm doing my best to just kind of grab and not plan too much. I don't want two fabrics that are the same touching each other, but sometimes we can drive ourselves a little bit crazy trying to make the layout just right, and in the end, it's all going to be fine. Just mix it up. Don't let it consume you. No, not on that one. There is a cutout in the table for the cutting mat to be recessed so that the cutting mat itself is flush with the rest of the surface of the table. But there's no cutout for the sewing machine itself. However, there is a non-slip pad that we will put under the sewing machine if we're sewing on the tilt. Thank you. This is the same as the non-slip surface that I showed you on the bottom of the cutting mat that comes with the roundabout. So this is like, I don't know what this stuff is. It is literally magic, but like I mentioned before, I was really nervous about sewing with my machine on the angle. And I hadn't put my expensive machine on this table at that point. Now I won't hesitate. You put your machine on here, it's not going anywhere. You could tilt this table right on an angle and it just holds. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what it is, but it's magic. Set that aside. All right, that's perfect timing. Someone would like a close-up of me putting in the pin. So you can see here, I'm just lining up the two edges of the block, and I'm going to make sure that they are lined up along that top edge. And this top seam allowance is pressing to the right, and the bottom seam allowance is pressing to the left. So what I need you to see is that these two seams, they're just kissing inside the block. They're just right up against one another. And I'm going to, yes. So Landon's holding that up for you. Hopefully you can see that well. She can also see what you can see. So hopefully you're able to see how they just kind of touch one another.
And then if I hold it here, can you put the pin in it?
Uh-huh. And then sometimes I'll even put the pin in here just to make sure that those are touching really well.
Me too.
And then I'm going to go in on either side of the seam and then back out. I'll let Landon show you that a little bit better. Now don't forget, guys, you can use coupon code BIRTHDAY for today only until an hour after the stream. So that's until 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's going to get you 20% off on the Oliso iron, 20% off on the 3-piece roundabout set, or 20% off any of the workstation tables. Okay, so now this one's going to go on the bottom of the pile to keep its order. I will often pile up all my pieces, and then when I get to my machine, I can just kind of assembly line through them. And then I'll move along and just do the whole next step. It makes me feel like I'm super efficient. And chain piecing too. Chain piecing is always helpful. You waste a lot less thread. And you just one after the other, raise your presser foot a little in between each new piece, and then just put the next one in and carry on, and then they're all connected by a single thread, and you just separate them once you're done. My friend Kathy Strawson, who I believe is watching today, that's who was reminding us about the center of the blocks, was it Elle? Kathy? We did a really great trunk show with Kathy middle of last week. So if you were interested in seeing Kathy's journey through this century of quilts anyways, I'm sure she made more before the turn of the century, go ahead and check that one out. It is a really, really great trunk show, and Kathy is always fun. She's got a great sense of humor, and she was a joy to have here on the show. Okay, there's another fork pin. So be sure to go back and check out the prior videos that we've done. We've got lots of tips and tricks, little tutorials, and just prior patterns that we've done as well. Lots of fun stuff to check out there on the website. Or on YouTube, if YouTube is your preference, you can check us out over there, and make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our new videos. And if you just want to watch us on Facebook, that's good too. I do not use steam to press. I'm anti-steam. Shrink stuff. I don't like it when my fabrics shrink. I want them to be the same size I started with. If I were a person that pre-washed my fabrics, steam would be fine because the shrinkage would already be gone. But I don't pre-wash, so I like how the sizing in the fabric makes the fabrics behave for me. Now, hopefully you already have the Almost Houndstooth pattern, but if you do not have the pattern that you see here behind me, you can visit sparrowquiltco.com. You're going to click on my face, and it'll have you fill out a little form, put in your email address. We'll send you an email with the pattern attached, and you can whip up this pattern as well. This time, what's that? Thank you, Lauren. Lauren says that I'm so informative. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So my whole goal is to just, share little tips and tricks. I've met a lot of quilters who are self-taught, and they have learned to make do. And sometimes someone just showing us a simple little trick can just make a light come on an issue that has been haunting us. So, if there's anything that I can help sewers with, I really do enjoy that, and I hope that you'll leave comments here or leave us a message in the Facebook inbox, send us an email. I'm always happy to try and answer your questions. Or if you have an idea for a video, I'd love to hear it. I really would. So please feel free to share it with us. Oops. All right, so once I have all 4 of these sets of twins put together, then I will start joining them together in a row. Maybe we'll even get 2 rows joined together today. Rows.
Is that clear at a table? Is it just that machine?
So this clear extension table is special ordered to fit this machine. This will fit the Sparrow 20 and the Sparrow 25. I don't know about the 30. I will have to double check on that. It's massive. It's 18 by 24, which is a really great size. I mean, I have to look up the link for y'all so that I can share where you can maybe order your own custom table for your machine. It is a custom order though, like it's not, they got to make it for you is what it comes down to. But it's so great to have. No. You know what? Bargellos are actually pretty simple. The biggest thing with a Bargello is staying organized and staying precise. It's not here anymore. Some of you may have seen the Bargello that was behind me in some of my prior videos. That one is called Lightning Strikes. It's by an Australian designer named Chris Timmins. And somebody found a link yesterday where it's a free pattern, so go grab that. But let me tell you, that sucker, 20 fabrics, I believe it was 17 meters of fabric. I have got a bag like this of the scraps that are left over from that quilt, and it took me 7 years to make that sucker. I'm just being honest with you. But a lot of it was my own fault, and I learned so much from it. You learn more from your mistakes than you will ever learn from things going perfectly. And I learned more about precision and accuracy in that quilt than any other project. So I'm really glad that I did see it through, although I probably wanted to set it on fire about 5 times. It was just so beautiful though, like I had to complete it and it was expensive. 17 meters of fabric, did I mention that already? So go ahead and check that pattern out. My biggest advice if you do tackle it is stay organized and just stick with it. But it's very simple sewing. It's all straight line sewing. And your fork pins, invaluable. I can't even describe to you. It's like the MasterCard commercial. Is it MasterCard or Visa? Priceless. You know, they list off all the items that cost whatever, and then it ends up that it's priceless. The fork pins really, really, really made that quilt turn out as well as it did. Yay! I'm not the only one. Nice job, Jeanette. Jeanette says she's been working on hers for 11 years. You take the prize in length of Bargello project for that one today. What do I use to wash a quilt for the first time? Quilts don't get any special treatment in my washing machine. Patrick Lowe's once called me a murderess. I use good old Tide. I throw it right in there and I just wash it with Tide. If I'm concerned about colors running, I will put in a little bit of vinegar. Grandma Flo, Matt's mom, taught me that trick years ago to keep colors from, you know, blending into fabrics or to seal the color of something that's vibrant. Put a little bit of vinegar in there. But then I do suggest washing it a second time because you are going to smell that vinegar. She lingers, that scent. Yes, she does. All right. I have got 4 little sets of twin blocks now. I'm going to join them into one big row, and then we'll join this row onto this row. How are we doing for time? Ooh, we're getting a little bit late. Okay, now I got to hustle. Okay. Have you all shared the video today? That's how you're going to get entered to win the prize. And hopefully you've been able to take advantage of the coupon code there, coupon code birthday. That's going to get you 20% off on the iron, the roundabout system, or one of these great workstation tables. I can't remember. Oh, this is the first one. See that little thread that I forgot to trim? That's what told me that was my first seam. It's a good thing I didn't trim it this time. Yeah, we're just saying how this new houndstooth that I'm making is almost a little bit similar in color to the one that I made prior. This one is Tula Pinks and Michael Miller's, and this one's pretty strong.
Pinks really stand.
Yeah, they do. Those pinks are strong, hey? Yeah. And I just love this fabric line. It's a Riley Blake fabric line designed by Amanda Herring. It's called Curiosities, and it's just got some cute little designs in it. One of them is an ostrich, and she's like cabbage roses. She's just fabulous. I wish I could wake up that fabulous. Yeah, I want to be a giant 500-pound bird. That's what I'm telling you. I think ostriches are fabulous. All right, maybe I'm a little crazy. Okay, so this is not the beginning of my row. I'm going to sew this one first so that I can keep myself in some sort of order. As I've admitted to you guys before, I'm a bit of a fruit fly at times. Find myself in my house like walking in circles, just trying to stay focused. And I think a lot of you creative peeps can relate to that. I blame it on the 10 children I've had, but I'm sure it's not their fault either. All right, let's walk over this pin carefully. Don't want any migrant pins in the eye. You probably notice that I often will stop and make little adjustments, and probably makes me a slightly slower sewer. Say that 10 times fast. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. I want it to be precise and I want it to look good. But there's a line, you know, you guys have seen a few times where I've been able to just let it go. I'm like Elsa, I'm just gonna let her go. Okay. This bottom corner is not quite lined up, so we're gonna make sure that's bang on and finish this seam off. There we go. And that's what I mean by chain piecing. You can see that I went from one piece to the next, and it's just got a little strand that joins them together. Get my fork pins safely back in their case. That's the beginning of my row. There's the second half. And we'll join these together. This table, I forgot to put it back down, didn't I? If you're sewing with your elbows up around your ears, your surface is too high. Okay, and I am just nesting those seams into each other. And I'll often hold up my two pieces to kind of make sure that they're square to one another, that they're not going to be sewn together crooked. All right, one last pin, and we'll sew the last of this row together. Now, you notice that I did not press the in-between seams of these blocks. That's so when I join the two rows together, I can press those seams in the direction I need them to go. The first row will all point in one direction, the second row will point in the opposite direction, and that will allow me to nest my seams together really well. Do you start with your needle down when you're sewing? I like to. Then when I stop sewing, it'll stop with my needle down. And if I, for any reason, need to lift my presser foot, my project cannot slip away. It just helps me keep things in place. And so I will often start with my needle down. And you'll find that's really helpful if you're doing any sort of applique, stitching around the outer edge of it. Just keeps things where you need it to be. All right. So there she is. Row number 2. Looking really good, isn't it? So now I am ready to bring this row back over and put it right sides facing together, and I'm going to fork pin at every intersection. And like I mentioned, these seams here are not pressed, so I can push them in whatever direction I like, and I can go to my pressing station afterwards and do all the pressing to make it nice and crisp and make it look that much better. All right, my quilty friends, this is probably your last chance to share the video. And remember that coupon code birthday for 20% off any of those items I mentioned earlier, the iron, the roundabout set, or any of the workstation tables. 20% off, coupon code birthday. And that's only going to be good until 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it is now 8 minutes to noon. So you got an hour and 8 minutes to enjoy that. Okay, so because you've all seen me mess up rows before, we're going to make double sure that these are correct and we are good. Before we begin, ooh, Argentina, welcome. That's awesome. I'm not sure we've had an Argentina attendee before. Okay, so my top row is going to point to the right. My bottom row is going to point to the left. And I've also got the center of the blocks that has a seam that I need to match as well. So we'll look at those two. Hopefully those will work out on in my favor. Oh, yes, they will. Yes, they will. So my center seams, yep, I'm going to pin those too. This is going to work out perfectly because I pressed towards that large white block when I was constructing the blocks. Darcy pressed towards the white block when she was constructing the blocks, and also pressed towards the print block when those were being constructed. So now I've got one this way and one this way, and that's going to work out really nicely, just how I want it. It's just those few products today. It does not apply to fork pins. I'm sorry. Landon tells me a question and I often forget to repeat it. Okay. Oh, thank you, Al. Ah, I see. Landon used to write out your questions on a piece of paper and hold it up, but you guys can't hear her over there anyway, so now we just have like active conversations while I'm hanging out with you guys too. So because I'm going to be using most of these, I'm just going to go ahead and spill them out. I might not have enough to do this row. Sorry? I have made, when I very first got into sewing, I did a few bags, like just kind of wing it type of thing. And then more recently, I did a weekender bag out of April Showers by Bonnie and Camille. And there's a lot of darn work. And it was quite awkward to sew in the final stages. And I quilted each and every single little panel. So it was a lot of work. And then I gave it to Landon and I threw the pattern in the garbage and vowed I would never make that again. But it's a great pattern. It's an Amy Butler pattern. It's a really great bag. It's a good size. Hey, Elle?
Yeah, it's a really good name. Weekend trip.
She says it's very perfectly named, the Weekender bag. And she dragged it down to Houston too. And it was small enough to be your luggage that you brought on board, right? Did it fit under the seat for you? Yeah, so it's small enough to bring, oh, okay, we did have to put it up top. But we were able to bring that bag on the airplane, stuffed to the gills. And it's a great bag. Maybe some pockets inside would be a nice addition. I am terrified to try and make a wallet because I think they're so little, Landon says. I'm not sure I would have the patience to ever finish it, and they strike me as quite finicky. One of our good friends, her name is Debbie Hunker, and I think her page is Doodabug or something like that. She makes beautiful, beautiful wallets and bags, like really, really professional. So she would definitely have some tips and tricks for you if that's what you're after.
Someone sewing in 2 of the squares thought that shrunk. Should she get the other squares and iron them, or just put them together?
In that situation, no, I don't think I would shrink the rest. I think I would kind of fudge them to make them work. Once you wash the quilt, all the rest of it's going to shrink to match what's already shrunk. I don't know. I don't know. It's up to you. Maybe just steaming them all while you press them all would shrink them up just a little bit. But I think I would just kind of fudge that and just make it work. You stumped me a little on that one. When I was first making this quilt, I began with a pack of white charm squares that I was going to use, and that's exactly what happened. Is they got wet, I threw them out. I'm done. A little dramatic over here, in case you hadn't noticed before, but I don't know. I was concerned it was going to mess with everything, so in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, put those aside, don't use them. But I think if they got a fabric in them that you really love and you need them in that quilt, then I would make it work. But I don't think I would dampen everything else. That's a good question. All right. I've actually run out of fork pins, so I'm going to start sewing, and I'm going to pull out fork pins from the other end and finish pinning this row. But we are so close to done here. This one didn't work out. It went the wrong way. That's okay. I'm just going to have to flip it. Ooh, Landon's got a shiny new package of fork pins over there. She's going to let me open them up. That'd be great. I don't need a lot. Thank you, darling. When you get them, they're all kind of stuck together like this. So you have to carefully detangle them. I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4. But because they're U-shaped, they just hook onto each other, and they seem to really like each other. Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, that seems to be it, is that they're just hooked a little bit. And these ones, I've told you guys before, warned you guys before, they are sharp. They are sharp, sharp, sharp. So you want to be super careful when you are using them so that you're not poking yourself and bleeding all over your precious fabrics. I'm more concerned about my fabrics than I am about my actual safety. Oh, I've been thinking about it. I've got some really cool little tools for doing quilt as you go. It's not something I've ever attempted before, so I'm going to have to try it at home first so that I can do all my swearing off screen and make sure that I've got the technique just right before I go ahead and show it to you guys. But we found some neat tools while we were in Houston and a book to go with it as well. Okay, this row is ready to be sewn. Just going to pin this last corner so that I don't have to fuss with it. Oh, I missed one there too. Almost done here, guys. If I don't put the lid on these clover flower head pins, you know I'm going to knock them off. You've all seen my amazing grace and lack of clumsiness. Lack of clumsiness, which is not true. It is a bold-faced lie. You all watched me spill my coffee live on camera there a couple weeks ago. So That is why I am going to make sure I always close up my pins so that they don't end up all over the darn place. All right, that entire row is pinned and we are ready to stitch it. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm speedy until I get to the pin, and then I'm going to slow down and make sure that I just walk over that pin. So I don't want to fly up and get lodged in my eye or anywhere, really. Now you may notice behind me that there's a couple of spots in the quilt that are just a blank square. Originally I had one more fabric that was going to go into the quilt, and when I laid it all out, there's just something not right about that blue. So I pulled it out, and then I was faced with having to create 4 more squares, and I thought, well, what if I just threw in a blank and see how that looks? So I just quickly cut out 4 8.5-inch blocks of white, and you can see that I just placed them randomly throughout the quilt. And when it went to the quilter, who was Kathleen Riggins out of Camrose here in Alberta, she and her parents and her husband run a quilt shop down there in Camrose, and she's quite well known online. You might be already familiar with her. She is Kathleen Quilts on Instagram and everywhere else. She had a lot of fun with those open areas, and she created that really neat look through there. She had a lot of fun quilting this quilt, period, I think. She did some beautiful work on it, and I'm very pleased with the way she quilted it. She's got a very modern, fun style. So if you do not want those open spaces, then you just go ahead and piece 4 more of the blocks, and you can put them in there, and then you'll just have edge to edge of almost houndstooth blocks. I've also been asked a few times why almost houndstooth, and you can see, if you're familiar with a traditional houndstooth, you would know that there is another little triangle of that fabric that should have been here, and you can see it in the whites. It worked with the whites. When I laid it all out, I had the realization that I was going to have to very carefully plan where I placed each little square to create that little triangle look, and I just did not have the patience for that. In fact, I may have even declared, ain't nobody got time for that. And I've still got a little stack of 2.5-inch squares somewhere at home in all these fabrics that never went into anything. I just declared it done and put it all together. So that is why it is named almost houndstooth. All right, we're coming up to the end here, and then I can show you my 2 rows joined together. And we will also announce our winner here. So birthday girl Landon already has that chosen. So our winner today, he's holding it up for me, so I'm just, who's going to win the squaring ruler and the ergonomic cutting ruler is Joyce Ann Schoonover. So congratulations, Joyce Ann. I'm going to have you please privately message us. Don't comment here on the thread with your personal information. Send us a private message here on Facebook. Include your phone number, your email address, and your shipping address. And we will get those items out to you ASAP. Oh, we're so close now, guys. Now at this point, once you've joined your rows together, you can just pick a direction for pressing your big long horizontal seam. Press it whatever direction you want. Because of your white background fabric, It's going to show this way, it's going to show that way, it won't really matter. And it's going to press easier. Oh, where's my join? Here. It's probably going to press down easier than up, but like I've told you before, press it in the direction that it seems to want to go. Then it will be easier for you. So let's get all these pins out of the way, and then we'll hold this beauty up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can tell the new pins from the old pins, they are a little bit stiffer. They haven't been abused yet. Okay. Get our lid on. Close this little sucker up. All right. Are you ready? Ready to see it? Okay. So there it is, 2 rows of the newest almost houndstooth quilts. If you are interested in this pattern, you're going to visit us at sparrowquiltco.com. Click on my face, put your email address into the little field there, and you will get an email reply with the pattern attached. I hope very much that you have enjoyed this pattern. It's a lot of fun and it's pretty fast, and you can use one of your favorite fabrics with a nice big print because it leaves those blocks nice and large so that you can enjoy those beautiful prints that you've got in your stash at home. Now don't forget that we stream live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And also don't forget that today only, February 9th, you have got that coupon code, birthday, and you can use it to enjoy 20% off on the iron, the 3-piece roundabout set, or any of the workstation tables. I want to thank you all for watching today. I hope that you will continue to join us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays here on Facebook, or you can catch up with us on YouTube or on the website at sparrowquiltco.com. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care and have a great weekend. Bye for now.